Should I retire? I get this question all the time. Last night, a friend of mine said, I have my retirement letter written and ready to go. Should I pull the trigger and turn it in? That's a very personal and loaded question, and here's what I said. Hi, I'm Melinda, and I retired a year and a half ago, didn't like it, went back to work, retired again in May, and now I've been substitute teaching and doing this YouTube channel for a little bit of supplemental income. In the description below, there's a link to a complimentary digital notebook that you can download and take retirement notes on a digital device, your iPad, or any type of tablet. When you sign up or download this digital notebook, you'll be the first to know when my Beyond the Bank Account retirement workbook is ready to go. I've been working on a journal with prompts and worksheets in order to prepare for the non-monetary side of retirement. So go down to the description and you can download my complimentary notebook so that you can get used to what it's like to use a digital notebook. When this friend of mine asked me, should I retire? The very first thing that came to mind is, what are you going to do? What are you literally going to do when you wake up in the morning to when you put your head down at night? Time is probably a more valuable asset than your money, and you're going to have a lot of time on your hands. Do you have a hobby? I've recently learned that I did have hobbies. I just worked so hard that I was never able to do my hobbies or take part in things or figure out what I really like to do. Now, a year and a half into it, I've gotten back to some of my hobbies, and that's changing my retirement just a little bit. Not sure what's going to help this person in their retirement. If you are retiring because you think you want to work for yourself, what type of personality are you, and are you disciplined enough to do the work and work for yourself? Do you want to retire so you can work for yourself and set your own hours and do what you're interested in? Is your personality gonna allow for that? Currently, I feel like I have attention deficit and I'm doing all kinds of things all the time and I can't stay focused. One of the really bad things I've been doing lately is when I want to avoid a task, I scroll social media. And just recently, I realized how bad social media makes you feel about yourself. So if you retire and you are bored or you realize, what have I done? I don't recommend scrolling social media. I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur and follow in my dad's footsteps. My dad owned 2 gas stations when we were growing up. Then he went into business, retail business with his mom. And then after those businesses closed, he opened additional retail stores where you buy pallets of returned goods from Land's End or Amazon or Walmart or catalog stores. You don't know what you're getting in this pallet or on a truck of goods. And then you have a store that reminded me of a dollar store, and that's what his store looked like, but it was all resale products that had been returned that were slightly damaged that he could sell for a little bit of a profit. He did this until he retired finally years ago. And I've always wanted to own my own business or have a shop of some kind. I just don't know what that would be. And I'm okay dreaming about those things if they never happen. However, ideally, it would be nice to have those things happen. I really wanted to hone in on what is he going to do with his time when he retires and has lots of it. Next, I said, do the math. The working you and the retired you spend a completely different amount or kind of money. What you spend your money on when you retire is going to be very, very different. Have you done the math? Do you know exactly what you're going to bring home every month? What the retirement system said my check was going to be was not what my check was going to be because of taxes. Do all of the math. You're going to need insurance, and then you're going to need to know what your taxes are pretty close so that you don't get that surprise when taxes are due. And what you need now in money compared to what you need a year from now and what you need to know at the end of your life are going to be completely different. Our lives are going to change over the course of time, and our money may or may not need to change over that course of time. If I choose to continue to do the hobby that I love, then I'm going to need to use the money that I'm making in supplemental jobs in order to fund that hobby or figure out a way to make that hobby a lot cheaper. I mentioned an emergency fund to him, not necessarily what's in your emergency fund or what do you think, but just do you have one? And if not, be thinking about that. And I talked about the things that have happened to me so far. I believe that things happen to us in life to teach us something or us to learn a lesson. First big thing was a dental expense. I have car maintenance. I'm going to have to replace my refrigerator. I'm going to have to replace my air conditioning unit, I'm pretty sure. What are the things that are coming up in your life that are going to be expenses that either you know are coming or be ready for that emergency expense? I feel like whenever things are going really, really well, something small or maybe something large happens in order to remind us to have a really well laid out plan. Take stock of the people in your life. This person is a lot like me, and all they know is the same district that they've worked in and the same people that they've worked with forever. As a teacher and as a principal, teachers come and go, and that's really, really hard. We build relationships with our friends as teachers, our friends as principal, and somebody retires or somebody gets married and moves on, or somebody has a baby and stays home. In this instance, when you retire, you're the person that's changing or you're the person that's leaving. Everyone else is still in their work environment. It's no one's fault, but the people who are in your life when you're working are going to be different than the people who are in your life when you are retired. The nice part for me was that I was ready for some of the people that I work with to be out of my life. Ones that I want to remain in my life or retain relationships with, I still do, even if I have to work on it myself. However, part of the reason that I retired was that I needed some people, or I needed to be away from some people. I needed people out of my life, and that's been a blessing for me. I think in this situation, that person has to take stock of what do the people in your work life bring to you. If they're your entire social circle, you'll have to think about how do you stay in that social circle. Another thing is the conversations that people have when they're still working where you're not working anymore. You feel you don't have anything to contribute to those conversations, or you don't understand the inside jokes anymore, or something happened along the way and you missed it and they've been talking about it and then you're not really a part of that conversation. That's a challenge as well. This person is also single, and the first thing I thought when they said, should I retire, was no. And that's unfair because there are single people on YouTube and single people out there that have retired that are very successful, love it, and have fulfilling lives. I do too. It's just lonely. The loneliness isn't as bad as what I thought that it was going to be, and it's getting better. But there are lonely times when you're a single person and you're retired. Your kids are at school or grown and gone. So my first instinct to tell this person was not if you're single, and that's just really not fair. How long have you or has this person been in this position, whether it's a school district or a work environment of any kind? How long have you been in that? Your body and your mind and your car default to whatever that job or whatever that place is. For example, when I leave my house, sometimes it's just in me to turn right as if I'm going to work. Even day before yesterday, I went the wrong way to go substitute teach because I thought that I was going to work. It also dictates your internal clock. I was in the same position or worked the same profession for 30 years. Actually, it's longer than that because I was a student in that profession for the 13 years before that. So what is it? 43 years of the same schedule in my life. So my body and my mentality are on this same schedule of 8 to 3:30, or not having a lunch, not being able to go to the bathroom but once a day, you're set in a routine. If you've been in that job for a lot of years, it's really hard to adjust and create new patterns and habits. I feel like I'm getting better at that now, but it's been a year and a half, or about 6 months, and I still have some of the same habits. You also aren't going to drive by the same places or have the same route to work. Those types of things are going to change when you retire. Once you submit your letter or announce that you're retiring, it is final. You can't go back. I'm sure you could retract your retirement letter or tell them that you want to stay, and that would work out if they haven't filled your position. But the fact that you've decided and told people makes it final for a lot of people. Whenever I retired, and I received a lot of compliments, and people said they were going to miss me and appreciated the job that I had done, of course I wanted to take my retirement letter back. I didn't realize anybody liked me. However, that lasts a very short amount of time, and then people by nature are more worried about themselves than they are you or me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think that that's the way we are as humans. And once I said I was going to retire, then those people were more worried about how is it going to affect them. In this person's case, how's it going to affect his team when they have to hire somebody new to replace him? And how's he going to feel whenever he is replaced? You can't go back once you make that announcement. Even if you want to, maybe you could go back to your job. It's just the message that you've sent that you're done. So what was my advice? My advice was that it's a personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer. How do you handle change? Your life is going to change significantly. You go from 30 years of working to a hard stop, and now you're not working. If you want to know how to replace New Year's resolutions with something more fun and achievable, subscribe below and be on the lookout for my next video.